Hey guys, Derek from 4Runner Lifestyle here. Today we are going to install these guys right here. These are Meso puddle pods. So these are a direct LED replacement for your factory puddle lights. The 4Runner behind me right here is a 5th gen. This should work for pretty much any 5th gen 4Runner. All right, we are underneath the driver's side mirror right here. This light right there, that is your puddle light. So if you guys have like a keyless entry, you probably have noticed when you approach the vehicle, this light illuminates. It just shines like a kind of a dim light down. Kind of shines down on any puddles or anything that might be right here so you can see what you're doing when you're getting in and out of your vehicle. That is the light we are going to be replacing with the Meso Customs puddle pod. Now there is also a switch which is optional for the Meso Customs puddle pods. The switch requires a little bit more installation than we're going to cover in this video today. We are only going to be installing the Meso Customs puddle pods itself. However, the switch does allow you to activate these whenever you want from inside the vehicle. The reason for this is it adds kind of an extra ditch light or puddle light to your 4Runner. So if you're off-road and you want these lights to be on while you're driving so you can see out the window what's directly below the mirror on this side of the vehicle, there is an option to include a switch which allows you to do that. Now these Meso Customs puddle pods do come in a pair, so you do get one for the passenger and one for the driver's side when you buy these. Install is actually pretty simple. It seems a little bit complicated if you haven't removed anything from your mirror before, but if you've done our sequential turn signals, this is very similar. The only tools you're really going to need for this install are a potential pry tool. You don't really need one, but it is handy. And then a Phillips head screwdriver. Doesn't really matter what type of Phillips head screwdriver, just kind of a standard Phillips head screwdriver should do. Now, the first step to this install is going to be removing the mirror itself. So you should be able to turn the mirror just like this. This makes it a little bit easier to access and get into. That's what I'd recommend doing very first. Once you have the mirror rotated like this so that you can access it easily, we need to actually pop the mirror out itself. Now the mirror is actually only being held in by these little plastic clips. So it's going to feel a little bit funny to remove the mirror. It's going to feel maybe a little bit like you're breaking it, but that's normal. Don't worry. We're just going to pull it until it comes out. So there are a couple of connections for those of you who have heated mirrors, but these usually just come off by themselves. So don't yank it out, but you do need to give it some, some oomph to actually get it out. It is kind of hard to pull this out the first time. So for starters, I'll typically tip it one way or another so that I can actually get back behind the mirror. And then with this one, it's actually really easy because we've done it quite a few times. With yours, you may notice that it's actually really hard to get this to come off. So what's holding this in is these 4 little points right here. Those are clipping directly into these 4 plastic clips on the inside. So they just pop on and snap onto it. But the first time you remove it, or if you haven't done it before, it feels a little bit funny because you really have to yank it sometimes in order to get this mirror to come out. Now on this one, because it is a heated mirror, you'll see there's 2 tabs right there. Those correlate to the cords. You'll see just like this up in the corner. So typically they just pop off. It's not super important, but it does keep the mirror warm, keeps it from freezing, that kind of thing in the winter. So you don't need to worry about that connection a whole lot, but just make sure you don't rip this out when you take it out. Next step is we actually need to remove the mirror cap itself, this piece. So it's being held in with plastic clips on the inside of the mirror. So if you look inside, those plastic clips should be pretty easy to identify. There's usually not that many, 1, 2, maybe 3. And so we just need to push the tabs holding those in. You can usually see them right there. And then you should feel the mirror cap actually start to pop out this way. Once we have all those clips undone, it's a little bit stiff and it feels a little scary taking it off, but you should just be able to pop the mirror cap right off the front. And as you can see, it'll just kind of pop off. A little scary to do the first time, but once you've done it a couple times, it's not that bad. Once the mirror cap itself has been removed, we need to flip this around, and next we need to remove this actual bottom piece right here. Now, in order to do that, there's a few screws in here, which is where we're going to use our Phillips head screwdriver. Once those are removed, we should just be able to remove this bottom plastic piece. If you look closely, you'll see that this piece is actually connected to the bottom piece, which is being held in by these screws I was talking about. So that's where we're going to use our Phillips head screwdriver. We're going to remove these 2 screws right here on the front. Once those two screws have been removed, you should be able to start to pull this back a little bit. You can see it's a little bit more loose. Now there are clips on the back side that hold this in. We're gonna go ahead and flip this back, and then we're gonna remove those clips. So back on the inside here, you can see there's one clip right here, one clip right here. And with those two clips out of the way, you'll start to see your turn signal start to come out. We need to remove the housing around the turn signal. All right, and there we go. It's a little janky getting it off at first. So now that we are inside, you can see this is the actual bulb for your standard puddle light. Okay, so in order to disconnect the bulb, you'll see that there's these two tabs on this black housing for the bulb that rotate in and out of this white housing. So you're gonna need to grab this and twist these two opposite directions until you can get those black tabs to come out of that little opening right there for it. So this was really stiff on this one because there's so much dirt in there. It's probably never been done before. From here, we're just gonna go ahead and remove the factory bulb. This is where we're going to be plugging in our new Meso Customs puddle pods. Okay, so now it is time to plug in our actual Meso Customs puddle pods. Now it does come with the puddle pod, and it should come with two of these adapters right here. So what we need to do first, obviously, is plug this directly into the puddle pod. These can be a little bit stiff at first, but once you get them together, it should look like that. It should be a good solid connection. Then the opposite side right here is an adapter that just goes in where that bulb was. Just gonna go ahead and plug that in right where that previous factory bulb was. Should plug in just like that. Once this is done, we have this ready to be installed on that plastic piece that we removed earlier. Here is this factory piece. You can see the outline right here. This is the factory housing for that old bulb that was there. We need to take this piece out. So if you flip it over, you can see it's being held in by two Phillips head screws. We're gonna go ahead and remove those screws and pop this piece out. All right, with those two screws removed, you should just be able to pop this piece out just like that. You can go ahead and discard this piece. We are going to need to install the new piece in this one, and you do need to keep these screws that you just removed, so don't lose those. Next, it's really simple. We just go ahead and install this. Make sure that the wire goes from the inside, and then this just installs exactly the same way that the factory one was. You just need to make sure those little clips wrap around on the front, and then you pop the two little pieces that hold the screws right into place just like that. So once that's all popped into place, we're just going to go ahead and reinsert those screws that we took out earlier. All right, with that all screwed back in, we are ready to install this back on the mirror itself. As you can see now, we have the Meso Customs puddle pod here ready to go. So to start, we're just going to make sure that we get our sequential turn signal put back in the right place, lined up correctly. And then we can go ahead and start working this in to get it popped in. You are going to have to tuck these wires back in this little pocket right there. Once those are out of the way, you should just be able to kind of shimmy this back into position. Takes a sec to get everything lined up, and then you can start popping it right back into place. Okay, so at this point, with everything popped back in without any screws installed, I like to just double check and make sure that this is actually working. So we're just going to go ahead and unlock the car. As you can see, it is working significantly brighter, and it's actually a nice clean white light. So much better than the factory pod light right here. So already looking good. This is ready to go. We're going to go ahead and install the screws, put the mirror cap back in, mirror back in, and then we're ready to go. The thing we need to do is to make sure that every single one of these clips has just popped properly back into place. Once that's done, we can just go ahead and reinstall these screws that we removed earlier. And with those two screws reinstalled, we are ready to pop the mirror cap back on. This is a little stressful, but it's not too bad. You just kind of go from the back like this and then pop it back into all those original clips. Should pop right back on just like this. Just make sure every single one of those clips goes back into place, ready to go with the mirror cap. Once the mirror cap's back on, all we need to do is reinstall the mirror. Now you do want to make sure that you get the connection right here before you pop it into place. So just take this wire, pop the wire onto these two little tabs right there on your mirror. You can see them right there. And then once that's done, you can just pop the mirror You're going to pop these 4 little arms right here, the little pincher arms, right back onto these plastic bars right there. Once that pops on all 4, your mirror is reinstalled and you're ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. Now you should feel it pop on every single one of those, all 4 of those little clips. Once it's in, you should be able to adjust it just like so. You should feel it moving around on that little plastic disc, and that is ready to go. So with that done, you are finished with this install. And that pretty much wraps it up for this install, guys. Super, super easy. Now the installation process is exactly the same on the passenger side as it is on the driver's side. So everything you just saw us do on the driver's side is exactly the same on the passenger side as well. If you guys want to pick up a pair of these Meso Customs puddle pods for yourselves, there will be a link in the description. Also, if you guys like this hat or this windbreaker, there will be links for those in the description as well. If you guys still have questions about the installation process or about the Meso Customs puddle pods themselves, or maybe you think we missed something, go ahead and let us know in the comments below. We'll try and get back to you as quickly as possible. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you guys get notified when we upload new videos. Huge thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you guys in the next video.